Welcome to Caribbean Focus. I am your host, Hermina Marcellin, and Caribbean Focus is the community voice of the Caribbean Research Center at Medgar Evers College. The weekly radio program highlights Caribbean educational, cultural, and social affairs. With that being said, I would like to welcome Professor Esther Nunez. Professor Esther Nunez is a professor at Medgar Evers College since September 2006. Professor Nunez has taught the following courses in the Department of Social and Behavioral Science, Political Science, American Government, International Relations, Social Science, Sociology, Critical Issues in Teaching Anthropology and Social Science. Professor Nunez was a prior guest on Caribbean Focus in 2015. During that interview, she discussed the history of the Garifuna people, their culture and tradition, and its continuum. Welcome once again, Professor Nunez, to Caribbean Focus.
Greetings and thank you for welcoming me. It's my pleasure to be on this program.
Thank you. Well, let's begin, and I want to wish you a happy New Year.
I thank you.
May you share with us, both to our listening and viewing audience, a little bit about yourself? Where are you from?
Originally, I am from Belize, a town called Degriga. I migrated to the United States when I was 14 years old to join my parents who have been living abroad from I was 9 years old.
From Belize, and you have this strong belief in collaborative socio-cultural research, and partnering with various colleagues for events such as making cultural connections in the diaspora, and partners of Garifuna Heritage American Foundation. Why is this venture important to you?
I vehemently believe in preserving the Garifuna culture. So by preserving the culture, it is through this medium, such as Garifuna Heritage Foundation, that we amplify our culture through different conferences, through different events that's held sporadically throughout the year. So I believe in preserving the Garifuna culture. So I'm part of different organizations talking about the history of the Garifuna people to the world. So that's my mission, is to preserve the Garifuna culture through different museums and through different conferences.
To this point, on May 31st, 2008, you hosted the 6th annual Garifuna Community Forum at Medgar Evers College. And in 2014, you were part of the Garifuna Women Leaders Conference and a recent recipient of the Barbuda Award in November 2019. Please share with our audience about your involvement in these conferences leading up to the award. What is it about? What was the overlining message?
The timeline started at Medgar Evers College in 2007. We launched the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, whereby there was the conference with different Garifuna guest speakers, dancers and drummers. And we brought that at Medgar because Medgar Evers College have a few students who are Garifuna. And also we want to share with other students who are interested in our culture. So hence we launched a conference there at Medgar Evers College. We showcase different aspect of the Garifuna culture. We spoke about the history, the folk stories, the drumming, different aspects of the culture at the conference.
And yes, please go ahead.
This Barbuda Award is, we were honored we were a recipient of this award because we had given to our community. These women, different women who worked with the community, they were given this award. And as for me, I have given to my community. I have also given to Medgar Evers community, to my students, empowering them about their culture as well as the Garifuna culture. So I received an award for facilitating and empowering the students throughout the years at Medgar Evers College and working with the community at large.
And your pending publication, The Garifuna in Central America, the African Caribbean Influence, was presented at a conference, Santa Rosa First People, held at the University of Trinidad. I'm interested in some of your findings, very in-depth title, The Garifuna in Central America. Could you expand a little bit about
this conference, again, was recently 2018, Dr. Bill Kern from Medgar Evers College, my colleague, and we attended this conference in Trinidad and Tobago. It was called Indigenous Peoples Conference, whereby Indigenous people from Australia, from Alaska, from Trinidad, from across the world, Guyana, the Garifuna, the Mayan, we met at this Trinidad and Tobago, and we spoke about different aspects of the culture, our lived experience as Indigenous people. So I had published on the history of the Garifuna people. So in addition to that, I spoke about the history of the Garifuna people and who we are as the people.
Which leads me to my next question on the Garifuna people. Could you, and again with the Garifuna people, they are a mix of African and indigenous people originally from the Caribbean island of St. Vincent, who speaks Garifuna, or an Arawakan language, right? We growing up in St. Lucia, we've heard our history of the Arawaks and Caribs. So please expand on the Garifuna people and its language.
The Garifuna people are indigenous people. According to our history, the Garifuna people are a hybrid of Carib, initially Carib and Arawak, whereby back then, in those times, during that epoch, the Carib men would launch raid on the Arawak community and take their women as wives. So hence, the Garifuna language is a hybrid of language, Carib, Arawak, and African, and French. It's a mixture. Because so you blend in with other culture, you take on certain language from other culture. So the Garifuna intermingling with the Carib, the Arawak, and the Africans, our language is a mixture, but it's gender-based. It's gender-based whereby, as a female, I would say to you, like higabuno, meaning come to me in my language, but a man would say ahiye. That means a man version of our language. It is gender-based, based on the interaction or the intermingling, whereby the Caribs, the Carib men took on the Arawak women. So from that, there was a intermingling of the Carib, it's Carib and Arawak, our language, gender-based.
And for the women version of come to me, it would be what?
Higabuno.
Gabuno.
Higabuno, come to me. That higabu no. That's the woman I would say to you, come to me. And a man would say, ahiye.
Igabuno.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And this language and this culture with its originality in St. Vincent, are all people from St. Vincent, Garifuna? Could you explain this, the originality of Garifuna?
Originally, we, the Garifuna people, are originally from St. Vincent. And because we fought, the Garifuna people fought for our homeland, St. Vincent, our chief of chief, Joseph Chatoué, when he was slain in March 1797, the Garifuna people were forced exile. We became prisoners of war, and we were forced to this island of Balisau. Forced there at Balisau, a barren island where we were left. 5,000 of us we were rounded up and left to die. We died from different elements, from starvation, from forced abortion. This is the epicenter of the atrocities in St. Vincent. So certain people on the island of St. Vincent, the darker skin was sent and the lighter skin remained behind. The lighter skin who remained behind were not allowed to speak the language, to knock their drums, to practice their culture. That was banned. So over the years, the people who remained in St. Vincent, they lost all connection of the Garifuna culture and heritage. So today, in contemporary society, the descendants of the Garifuna, I have gone on a pilgrimage back to St. Vincent, and I interacted with the Prime Minister Gonzalez, the Minister of Culture Affairs, and we had an event whereby we went to church and we talked about the history of the Garifuna people. And last year there was a conference there. Every year is a annual conference. The topic is about improving the Garifuna community. We have different topics there, but I was there last year at a conference in March. Last year, and to talk about the history of the Garifuna people. But people in St. Vincent are so much so interested in the heritage and the culture of the Garifuna people. They are now embracing the Garifuna people, because prior to now, the Garifuna people were ostracized in St. Vincent, and now in those different locales where the Garifuna live. For example, Greg's Place, they live there. Sandy Bay, that's where they are. But not all of the people of St. Vincent across the board are Garifuna, but I do have Garifuna people still living in St. Vincent. And of course, when we return there, we reconnect with our lost brothers and our lost sisters. So,
speaking on the topic of reconnecting, you were born in Belize. So how is there the connection with your upbringing and Garifuna?
Well, I was born in Belize. I was born in Belize, and growing up as a child in Belize, we are taught to value our culture. So as an early age, I value my culture. We were indoctrinated to value, to learn different aspects of the culture, the drumming, the storytelling, the music, believing in their ancestors. We were socialized to embrace the Garifuna culture in Belize.
Were there disparities in Belize as far as the Garifuna culture and being identified historically as Black Caribs?
Well, history had stated about the Black Caribs that we were deemed as carnival, because we were fierce and we fought the European powers that be. So it's written in history that we were cannibals, and even in Belize history book that we were deemed as cannibal. Because of that label, then we were also discriminated against. We were marginalized. We were marginalized in Belize. So I grew up with that stigma of being Carib, a derogatory name, Carib, they call us, because of the stigma and the label that the European, the powers that be, introduced to the people, the dominant group, which is the Creole. So they believe, even today, the pathology of racism and discrimination, that still continues today in Belize against the Garifuna people. But I transcended that.
Yes, and of course, is it easy to identify the Garifuna people in Belize?
Yes, it is easy to identify Garifuna people because Garifuna people, they live in certain on the coastal areas in the south, in Punta Gorda, in Dengriga, where I was born. We had a majority there. So everybody know, the entire country knows that the Garifuna people, Dangriga is the epicenter, the culture capital of Belize. So everybody in Belize today, contemporary Dangriga, they had embraced the Garifuna people, and they are proud of the Garifuna people because they had transcended those labels, those barriers, and broke those glass ceilings.
The Garifuna identity, as you're exploring and as you're giving us some information, and as a matter of fact, just touching the surface, the identity in the diaspora is indeed intricate, as it pertains to the language, the spirituality, and the culture. How do you hope to carry out your mission in educating others, both locally and globally, about the Garifuna people?
I am on a spiritual journey whereby I want to empower not only my community, I want to empower other communities, whichever community I'm a part of, I partake in. I want to be part. I mean, I want to empower my community whereby through the academy, in terms of currently I'm pursuing my PhD in humanities, culture, and society. And I'm going to use this PhD to put my conversation, my scholarly conversation about the Garifuna people in a narrative. So I'm going to use my writing, my dissertation, to write about the history of the Garifuna people and write about the experience of Garifuna people returning back to Balisao, where the atrocities against the Garifuna occurred. So that is my my contribution to my community, is to put our narrative in the scholarly conversation. And as a result of that, I will also bring that to Mega Evans to empower my students, because once I am empowered, then they too become empowered. And that is my mission.
And speaking on Medgar Evers and continuing to empower the students, we're bringing in your scholarly contribution. You are, a professor at Medgar Evers College, and with the classes that you do teach, are there ways that you somewhat merge that knowledge with what you're teaching in empowering?
How I empower my students? Because I was a teenage mother, and I was able to transcend my condition through my education. So my education has catapulted me to heights whereby I have never imagined. So when I'm in my classroom, I share with my students my experience as a teenage mother, and how my life can be a testimony to motivate them so they can transcend and stay steadfast and focus on their education. So I mentor my students, and within the classroom, I speak about the history of the Garifuna people. I speak about the culture of the Garifuna people. And the core, I always tell my students, the core of my culture in Garifuna, Buguya, no. As a woman, I'm speaking again from the voice of a Garifuna woman, Buguya, no. Meaning, I for you and you for me. Without you, I cease to exist. My life, my survival is contingent upon you. It's a symbiotic relationship, the concept of reciprocity.
Mhm.
If you're good to me, I will be good to you. If you're good to nature, nature will be good to you. That is the core of the Garifuna culture, which I introduced in my classroom. We are here together in this classroom together, and I'm for you to make sure that you do well, and then you are for me, meaning that you produce.
And the idea of all for me, and the idea where there's this reciprocity occurring, it also links to this Afrocentric worldview. But you mentioned about speaking, as a woman. Are there some feministic views in your approach?
Because then earlier I stated that the Garifuna language is a gender based,
Yes.
because I'm speaking from a woman perspective. So it's woman, how a woman speaks, not from a man perspective, rather from a female perspective. You know, I for you for me. It's, you know, I'll bo, buguyano. I for you and you for you. So that's how a female would say, you know, the core of our culture, using the female's voice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And how would one begin to further their inquiries about the Garifuna people? I know you are pursuing your scholarly work where I'm pretty sure your publications and the information would be out there. But for someone who would want to discover and find out more about the Garifuna, because it is part of the Caribbean history, it is part of that. So how would someone begin that quest?
Well, one of my cohorts, and he and we just returned back from Belize, because he has listened in the classroom where I discussed about the Garifuna people, and he was enthralled. So he and I went to Hopkins Village, the epicenter too of the Garifuna culture, and then we went to Dangriga, and we went to a museum, Pen Cayetano, well-known artist, Garifuna artist. We went to visit his museum, so he was able to see the culture firsthand in Hopkins, the people interaction in Hopkins Village. And then we went to Dangriga, and he saw the culture firsthand, the Jankunu, the different aspect of the Garifuna culture. He experienced that firsthand. So if someone wanted to know, be a part of the Garifuna culture, they can visit Belize, they can visit in California. Usually we have a reenactment every November 19th. In New York, we have a reenactment of the Garifuna people going to Belize for the first time in Catholic Church here in New York City. So I take my students to these events, from Mega Everest to the Garifuna activities in Brooklyn, to expose them to the culture element of the Garifuna people. So if I have my students in my class, usually I take them to the Garifuna community to see the culture firsthand.
And I wanted to give you a little more time to tell us more about this reenactment. You know, again, those who would be interested in any upcoming events surrounding finding out more about the Garifuna people, and I'm just more so expanding their knowledge, including myself, and you know, in finding out and immersing ourselves in that history. You mentioned the reenactment. So again, could you tell us when that occurs and what is it about?
The reenactment basically is after the Garifuna people were dispossessed out of their island from St. Vincent, and they were sent to Rotan, to Honduras, and later on to Belize. So when they were sent to Belize, women by Elejo Bene, the leader Elejo Bene, women and children, we begged for permission to reside in Belize. So eventually the governor finally embraced us. So what happened November 19th? November 19th is the day, that day we celebrate, the whole entire country of Belize celebrate Garifuna Settlement Day in Belize. Garifuna returning back to Belize asking for permission. So the reenactment is that the Garifuna people go out into the sea with their cassava leaf, their basket, their food, how they initially came into Belize. So they go out at night into the sea and come 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock early in the morning in the town. But people are looking, the people watchers by. People are watching to see, or standing by, no, watch. People are watching. People can't relate to see the coming of the Garifuna people in the shores of Dangriga. So it's a reenactment from there. Then they go to church, to Catholic Church, and then with the drumming, and then we pray, and then we have a big celebration, celebrating all-day celebration, the Garifuna people arrival to Belize.
Mhm.
Under the leadership of TV Ramos, he was the one that initiated that day for Garifuna people.
And we are, of course, in a pandemic, and there are a lot of events that needed to be curtailed and rearranged. Was that also impacted?
It was also impacted. Actually, I just returned back about 2 days, 3 days from Belize, and usually we have like mass celebration. And their Christmas is celebrated up until the 15th, but this year there was no celebration at all. That was not, we didn't celebrate this year. But nonetheless, we had a women conference, Garifuna Nation conference, women conference, to speak about the pandemic, speak about Garifuna, preservation of the Garifuna culture, sustainability during this pandemic. So we had different aspects of the culture that we discussed at the Women's Conference. This about a month ago.
Professor Nunez, I would like to thank you for really enlightening us and giving us some information on your background, information on your ancestral background, and joining me on Caribbean Focus to have this discussion. I wish you so much success in your endeavors. You have indeed provided some vital information in continuing the conversation on the Garifuna people and yourself.
Well, it was a pleasure. And I thank you for inviting me on your program to share my people, my career, the future of the Garifuna people. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Nunez. And the invitation is opened. I would love to have you back again.
Thank you. Thank you, Hermel. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Okay,
Professor.
you're welcome. Okay, this has been a Caribbean Focus. I am your host, Hermina Marcellin. Thanks for listening and watching. See you soon.